What's up, everybody? Happy Monday, April 25th, 2022. We are the Slate, a DraftKings show. We, meaning the collective we. The show is the Slate. We join you just after 5 o'clock, as we do right now. We'll take you up until about 6 o'clock before the next Madden Sim over on the DraftKings YouTube and Twitch platforms. We also come to you live on Twitter. Glad to have Nick Fryer joining us on the show today. Nick does a lot of good stuff for us over at DK, covering the NBA. So Nick's going to stop by here for the first 20-ish minutes. You have a lot of titles. Well, you're an editor and analyst at DraftKings, DK Live, and DK Sportsbook.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I got to do a little bit of everything. Between MLB and NBA, a little bit of NFL too.
Good. That's true. You don't have a sport attached to your name, which
no. I mean, I'm a baseball guy by trade, I think, just from my playing experience and everything. But no, NBA. I mean, I cover that a ton too. So yeah, I am dying for these games to get going tonight.
Nice. Good stuff. And Nick is a frequent visitor of The Sweat, which is our morning program that you can catch on all these platforms that you're watching now: Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter, over on the DK Nation Twitter page. So we come to you again every weekday, 11 a.m. for The Sweat. And we are also here after that 4 o'clock Madden Sim on these platforms. So as Nick teased there a second ago, we've got 3 NBA games tonight, NBA playoff games. Game 4, Celtics Nets, Raptors Sixers, Game 5. And then Jazz Mavs, that is Game 5 as well. So the Celtics and Nets are still playing a little catch up. That is the first game to tip tonight. It was a series that a lot of people nationally were looking forward to. As it turns out, this might end sooner than a lot of folks thought. Celtics are up 3-0 in the series. We'll get to Scott Foster. Yes, he is the head of the crew tonight that's officiating this game, and Nick's got thoughts on that. But just Nick, Mook, we talked a little bit before we went live here, and we'll spend a few minutes on each of these games, get you out of here, and then welcome in Jeff. But with Celtics Nets, I do have concerns about the Nets having any interest in playing this basketball game. Do you?
I think that's fair. I think they're defeated. I do think that outside of Kevin Durant and Bruce Brown, that everybody's kind of nailed it in. We've watched Kyrie and throughout these last couple of games. After he goes off in that first game, has an outstanding game. It's just kind of seemed like he's on a different planet. And that's not supposed to be like a play on the flat earth stuff or anything like that. It just really seems like he's disengaged. And, covering the Celtics years ago when he was in Boston, we definitely saw that happen with him in that final Bucks series. And he's, kind of sharing a lot of the same takes about the Celtics that he did about the Bucks back when he was with the Celtics, how, continuity and everything like that. So I do think a lot of other guys are kind of removed. I think Drummond has no idea what's going on. Claxton, he's engaged, but when you have Durant still there and he's still engaged and still trying to at least prove something, I mean, I don't think he wants to sweep on his resume. So I think that I do think that they're not going to come back in this series, but I'd be stunned if this doesn't go to a 5th game, especially with Foster now in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, my concern about Durant and really the officiating, I guess, here I am saying, we'll get to that. I mean, we can dabble it in the conversation now, but Game 2 is a game that stands out. The Nets built a 15-point lead in the first half. And Kevin Durant still got to the free throw line. I think the final tally was 20. It was definitely at least 20. Right. It was a trip to the line where he missed 2 straight at the line. But there have been circumstances in this series where I think the officials really, and not in a way where it stood out, more so I just think naturally, as you would expect, given throwing the Nets a bone to kind of stay in the game. And more so, I shouldn't even say the Nets, to give the superstar player a bone. And Durant has certainly earned that with his tenure in the league, championship player, arguably the best playing right now. You're going to get those calls regardless of whether or not it's a playoff series, a regular season game, whether you're down 2-0, down 3-0, up 2-0, up 3-0, you get those calls. He gets those calls more so than a Tatum or Brown will for the Celtics. Maybe at some point down the road, they will get there, but not right now. A lot of things have gone their way in Game 2, as I referenced the free throws. In Game 3, he didn't get those opportunities, Nick, because he didn't shoot the ball in the final, 8 minutes of the game. I think, what was it, 1 shot he took in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I mean, they've been suffocating him this whole series. I mean, Tatum's been outstanding on him. I saw a stat the other day. He's had 110. Durant has had 110 possessions where Tatum has guarded him, and he's scored, I think it was 10 points. And his season-long average was per 100 possessions, Glass was something like 38 and a half points, 39 points, somewhere in that range for Durant. So, I mean, he's he's obviously struggling big time. And the Celtics, their rotations and everything are really tight. They're doing a good job when Tatum's not necessarily the guy on Durant, that they're doubling him most of the time. Usually you see a lot of Smart and Horford on that front. But I just think when you look at, so yes, we do see him, get stopped. We do see him get calls in game 2. But with Foster, like there's a reason that we see him pop up in these kind of spots. Like the NBA almost doesn't try and hide it anymore. This guy is the series extender. It's like a joke at this point. The only thing that's more ridiculous is how Chris Paul, teams do whenever he refs these whenever he refs one of those games. So yeah, I do think you raise a good point where this should still be close. I don't think this is going to somehow turn into a blowout or anything like that, which obviously would be a shocker. But is in play. I think the Celtics will still find a way to kind of work through it. But in the end, man, like I think Foster just knows when to push the right buttons and knows how to stop any momentum. And the Celtics have been so physical on defense. Like I think within the rules of the game, it's playoff basketball. You got to let the guys play in some capacity. But I think he's gonna know exactly, like not exactly, but he just knows when to make calls and what makes a big difference.
His crew tonight. So it's Foster, Sean Wright, and Brian Forte. That is the crew tonight that is alongside Scott Foster for game 4. It makes you wonder too why, he wasn't brought in for game 3, right? But like I said, I mean, even previous games in the series, there have been opportunities for the Nets, I think, to capitalize on some calls. And like you said, there's a bunch of there are a bunch of statistics out there, records ATS, records straight up with Scott Foster in these games. So, it shouldn't be too difficult to find that information. But against the spread, yes. And Chris Paul's number now, does Chris Paul have 1 win in his playoff career now?
It's something like that. Yeah. When Scott Foster refs those games, it's something that ridiculous. I mean, you just know, like if Scott Foster's refing that game, then you got to be taking the other team. There's
it's double digit losses for sure. 1-13, 1-14. So it's a long way of getting to, do you have you do, I know you do, but I think you're staying away probably, I think if I had to weigh in on a total, I would take the over. I do think that the Celtics team, as great as they've been defensively, I think some other things will come around for the Nets in terms of shot making, which they have shot a pretty decent percentage in the series. Make no mistake, but I do feel as if the Nets will empty the bucket as it pertains to max effort from the guys like Bruce Brown, their shooters. They'll I think, and if it turns into a lopsided game late, those guys will give it their all in terms of getting minutes in the playoffs. Aside of it's essentially a pick 'em, but you're on something that I think is pretty interesting. You're on. It actually relates to Scott Foster.
Yeah, it does. So when I was first looking at this game, I started looking at the first quarter, totals, because I know our guy Julian Edlow has been all over the Grizzlies this season, but there are other ones to look at. And for me, this is we've seen like 50, anywhere from like 55 to 57, maybe 58, something like that in each of the opening quarters. It's been a little bit of variation between the Nets and the Celtics, who's leading those quarters. Obviously, the Nets have been coming out pretty quickly, and that's why they kind of just slow down later on. The Celtics are a far more patient team, but I do like the over on that total. Right now it's at 54 and a half. I saw it originally at 53 and a half. But yeah, my favorite bet right now, once we got that Scott Foster news, I was like, okay, where's the free throws made bet? Where do I gotta go for that? And I believe that's under the game props bets. Yep. And it was set at 18 and a half. And yeah, I would like you said, Glass, what was it? Durant made 18 or 17 free throws when he had 20 trips to the line the other day. I don't know if he's going to get that many himself, but I think his team can do that on all by themselves, or as a group, rather, I should say, and comfortably get the over on this. And they've gone over that number in 2 of the 3 games. I think last game was the first one they went under. They had 11 somewhere in this series, but that's really it. So they're still getting foul calls, a decent amount of trips to the line, but now you mix in Foster. The Nets are the team that need to win to extend this series. I just think that one's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's over in team props, and that number has remained the same, 18 and a half. That's made free throws, folks, not attempted free throws, made free throws. I kind of like it too. The whistle should be busy often. It actually bodes well too, not only for the Nets to get calls, but it's really not a criticism. I think it's actually something that could play into the Nets' favor, as the Celtics have been, you said it's suffocating defensively, and that bodes well, where they could call it tight.
Yep.
And fouls that wouldn't be fouls could become fouls. And we find out usually very soon in these games how they will be called. And in Scott Foster's case, it could change as the game goes along. So any other thoughts on this game? I know it's a loaded series with narratives with the Simmons news. He's not playing in this game. Simmons and the Nets. There was a report from Adrian Wojnarowski that he woke up on Saturday, wasn't feeling right with his back, so he decided he didn't go and shoot around and walk through Saturday. And they both sides agreed that he's just better off he doesn't play.
I do think that from a DFS standpoint, so from the Ben Simmons stuff, of course, Ben Simmons, the whole thing is pretty ridiculous. We couldn't tell at first if it was the Nets making this call or Ben Simmons. Clearly, all the backlash makes it seem like it's Ben Simmons. So it's been pretty embarrassing. What the Nets are going through on that front right now. But when you go from a DFS front, I know Bruce Brown is going to be a guy who's still a popular play, even though his price is, he's like right around a little over 6K. But for me, my favorite play right now, I know everybody's going to want to look at the Raptors and try and get some depth there. But I think looking at the Celtics reserves in this game, because of some of the foul trouble that I think that they're going to run into, whether it's Smart. I don't know about Tatum. Foster might put him in foul trouble, but he's a guy who's like in a weird spot because of how much he covers Durant. But I think a guy like Peyton Pritchard, maybe even a guy like Grant Williams too, two guys where, Peyton Pritchard's going to be playing for Marcus Smart, taking his minutes, easily could run into foul trouble covering Kyrie Irving. And then when you look at Grant Williams too, that's the bigs, right? So, Daniel Tice, the war on Tice is a real thing, happens all the time. We have, Al Horford could run into some issues too. Mm-hmm. And I think that these guys, like, they're not going to want to stop. Like, Udoka's not going to want them to just ease off. So you're going to have guys like Grant Williams and Peyton Pritchard, who have stepped up in this series, take on a little bit of that offensive load.
Yeah, and the minutes have been there for Williams, not as much for Peyton Pritchard, but yeah, it kind of relates to what you're talking about with that free throw prop and also points to be scored in the first quarter of this game. So you brought up the Raptors, and we'll try to hit on these next two games here before we got to let you go. The big news with Toronto is Fred VanVleet is not playing. VanVleet has been ruled out for tonight's game. He's at 7,600 on DraftKings. Stay away. Hip injury, ruled out. I'll be honest, I didn't even realize. I knew he was hurt, but I'm kind of surprised by this. Like, they give max effort. They win game 4, and now he can't go in game 5. Does that ultimately – and the line moved slightly after the news came out, moved, I think, a half point to 8. It was already at 7.5. It's a closeout game at home. I'll find it right now. There's another stat out there with game 5 favorites. They dominate straight up. They dominate against the spread. Picking against the favorite in game 5 when you're up 3-1 is typically not a good idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree with this one. I don't think that's necessarily my favorite bet, though, going with the spread in this one. But I do feel pretty comfortable. As much as Joel Embiid's dealing with a hand thing and everything, I think that's going to be more detrimental for them down the road. I think that if I'm looking at a particular bet for this one, I think Gary Trent Jr.'s points is kind of more where I'm leaning towards. I think it's set at 19.5 right now, and he popped off for over 20 in the last 2 games after a kind of slow start. I know OG Anunoby is another guy who people could be interested in too, but I think Trent's just, he's dealt with anytime Fred VanVleet has been out this season, Gary Trent Jr. is instantly one of those guys you're looking at from a points prop standpoint, if it's available on DraftKings Sportsbook, or a guy you're looking at from a fantasy perspective. Because I believe tonight he is in that 5K. No, he's at 6.7K. No, 5.7K. OG's at 6.7. So I think he's another guy who's going to be a popular play. I think he has a chance to really pop off. We've seen him do that already. And with, what was it? VanVleet had 15 minutes last game, and I can't see it on your screen glass. Is that 26 points last time out from Trent Jr.?
Last 2 games, 24 each game.
Okay. So yeah, I think you for him, it's a big spot for him to go off again, as much as I do think if you want a spread pick, I would go with the Sixers here, because I just don't think the Raptors can't hang without Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, to clarify, 24 points in the game. Fantasy points, 36 in game 4, 37.5 in game 3. Drastic changes from the games that were in Philly for Trent. And then
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a good call. I mean, it's a little pricey, admittedly, right? But maybe is that because of the comfortability playing at home? course, the injury, I get that too.
Yeah, I think for him it's a little bit higher. Well, with the thing is, like with Fred VanVleet, I don't have the usage rate number in front of me. But when Fred VanVleet off the floor this season, like Gary Trent Jr. instantly is a must start. Like every time out, if you see, and obviously he's dealt with some injuries throughout the course of the season. VanVleet has. Anytime that happens with you have to be looking at Trent Jr. And at his price tag. And for me, 5.7, I think that's the right price tonight, where you have a lot of wiggle room at the top in terms of the stars. You got to figure out ways where you can save. And I think in that mid-range area, I think this is a guy who has like a pretty high ceiling with VanVleet off the floor. On the other side of it, though, not necessarily from a DFS standpoint, but I'm open to it. But Tobias Harris, I think there are a few bets that you can look into on this one that might be worth your while. If you just want like a straight value play, like, you're not going to get this huge payout or anything like that. Tobias Harris versus James Harden head to head on the rebounds. Kind of interesting. I've seen mostly it's just, one player on team X and then one player on team Y. But in this case, we're getting guys on the same team. But it's that minus 150. So not a crazy amount of value or anything like that. But Harris has gone off for double-digit rebounds in each of the last 3 games, I think, after getting 6 in the first one. So pretty comfortably, he matched Harden in that first game, outperformed him since then. If you want a little bit bigger of a payout, Tobias Harris to get a double-double is like, it was at plus 215, I think, when I last saw it, but on a high range. I know I'm making you work hard right now, Glash, but those Harris props are definitely worthwhile tonight.
Double tonight for Tobias Harris. Yes, at plus 215.
There you go. Yep.
Yes, sir. And double-digit rebounds in 3 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
And he scored in double figures the last 3 as well. And in game 1, he scored 26. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty decent value. Yeah, you're right. At plus 210.
Yeah, and with Embiid hurting, kind of, I think that it's worthwhile. Like you got to have other guys kind of contribute in some capacity, and Harris has been doing that.
Right. And true on the glass, especially. The concern I had with the Sixers is more about, and I like the play on Harden more so because Harden has now had to, or I don't know. I look at it in a couple different ways in game 4. When you're up 3-0, James Harden had yet to have a game where he was the guy scoring, right? Which he didn't have to be. And I think I've been saying this really since he was in Brooklyn. I don't think he was the bad guy in Brooklyn when he asked out. I think he's like, I had enough of Kyrie Irving. I'm good with this. I want to go play somewhere where everyone's locked in and wants to play basketball on a nightly basis. Say what you want about. Go ahead.
I think it's like I don't want to give James Harden too much credit, but I do think I'm with you that I would take James Harden's side in that front. But at the same time, I just think he still looks pretty weak by and large with just the way things have gone with him since, the whole Houston fiasco and to where we are now.
Sure. But what I'm trying to say is here in this case, well, Houston's one thing, that's for sure. Since he arrived in Brooklyn, though, he has proven that he will be the facilitator. He doesn't need shots.
Absolutely.
Like he has allowed Maxey to be option number 2 on offense as far as a scorer. So Harden has fully accepted the role of facilitator.
Yeah.
In game 4, I feel like Doc Rivers may have let the leash extend for him to be the scorer. And look what happened. They didn't win the game. He was their leading scorer. Something's up with Embiid, too. So he probably feels that onus to be more of a scorer first, which in that case, I think makes him less of a threat on the glass, which to your point, I think that does bode well for Tobias Harris. If you're point guard / scoring guard and James Harden wants to fire up more shots, you do get more opportunities on the in defensive glass. I guess we'll mention this. Steve Buchanan, who does, which is just absurd at this point in our lives in April of 2022, maybe in April of 2020, April of 2021, that this guy still has control as a moderator in the YouTube chat, because he has that stupid wrench next to his name, which really does fit well with his personality and his approach to life. A complete tool. However, he does not deserve to have this role anymore because it's no longer needed. But Steve says, 2 nerds, one can't cook chicken, the other one can't decorate his wall. What's wrong with your wall? It's a white background. That's totally fine.
He has a problem with my clock. Can I ask something, Glash? So on this note, like, does he usually just kind of go through a rotation of insults with you all the time, like kind of same 2 or 3 things, or does he mix it up?
he'll kind of ride a heat wave of one thing. And
okay. Because for me, you know, my like 1.5 year with the company, like and doing, you know, videos with him and everything, it just feels like it's two things pretty much all the time. He likes to comment on my attire from time to time, and he likes to comment on my clock behind me. That's pretty much it. And then just, you know, like he does the real say I have like a bad take on something or whatever, which I don't care. Like, but it's kind of sad is what I'm getting at. Just feels like he's trying to be funny and he just doesn't really know where to go most of the time. That's all.
Oh, Steve also says how many free throws do I have to make so Glass stops wasting good chicken?
Well, I mean, I don't know I can't speak to your chicken cooking abilities, but
my chicken tastes great. And
okay.
you know, I'm just offering it to people that might be in need of food. That's it.
All right, I'll take that. If you want to send some my way, by all means.
It's a long way of saying, hey, Steve, thanks for stopping by. And
sounds like Steve Buchanan might be living in you guys' head right now. I mean,
no, see that's
kind of the vibe I'm getting.
This was a thing during that. It's not living in your head. It is simply reading the chat, and that is in the chat, and I am reading it.
Yeah, and Jeff, he's the host. I don't know what you want me to do. You want me to just, you know, not talk in response? I don't know if that's how you guys.
That's usually what I do to Glash.
Okay. All right. Well, I got to learn. I got to get my rapport with them going. So good to know.
Jeff, do you like the Raptors tonight?
Dude, I don't know. No.
Okay. All right, Nick Fryer, before we let you go, we're going to move on to Jeff and talk some golf. And
no, but Nick, I have a question for Nick. Nick, do you like Al Horford's props tonight? Should I go over on Al Horford?
I'll tell you what, I was looking at Al Horford's points plus rebounds number. I do like the over on that.
Good.
If there's
okay,
one from
good. That's what I was looking at too. The rebounds and all the stuff.
Yeah, I think when you look at that one, like he's going to need to step up in some capacity offensively. I think there's going to be a lot of I don't know if do you need a lot of convincing, Jeff, or are you good?
No, I just really needed a light convincing. I don't need convincing mainly on any bet that I make. So any light convincing is good with me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. You're welcome then in that case.
That's our NBA prop Clash. All complaints to Nick Fryer if Al Horford doesn't go over his number tonight.
I will, Glash. I know we didn't talk about the Mavs game. I will leave people on this note. First quarter, under 51.5 points scored. That's my favorite one for tonight.
Why?
Because if you look at those two teams, they're some of the better defensive teams in the first quarter, and they're not really that great when it comes to scoring in the first quarter either. And I think in this series, I thought I jotted it down somewhere, but it's something like, I don't think they've gone over this number yet in this series. So
game 3, or this is game 5. So game 4, which was on Saturday afternoon, it was drastically low.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, something to deal with that was getting Luka acclimated.
Yep.
That would be my only fear, is if Luka feels good, a game under his belt, maybe he comes out.
When you look at the regular season, they're not a great scoring team in the first quarter. And obviously Luka was there the majority of the season. I think Jalen Brunson's scoring prop is too low if you want a player prop too. I know, Jeff, maybe you want that one as well, but that's it. That's all I got for tonight.
Okay.
Well, Nick, thanks for stopping by. I think your wall looks fine. It actually, the whole point when you get into the background is you want to it's about you. And it's a very focused background. So I think it looks great.
It's not as good as Jeff's. Jeff's got a bunch of comics behind him. He has the best background, period.
You could argue it's distracting though.
I mean, he's got Wolverine stuff there though, and Batman. Cool. I mean, I'm never gonna, combat that.
Got a new Moon Knight comic too.
You did? Oh, okay. Nice. I love that. I've been loving that series. But I'll let you guys go. You guys got to talk Sticky Puck.
Bye, Nick.
Bye.
Okay. That was fun. What's up, Jeff? How you feeling?
What's up?
Good.
I'm doing good, man.
Great.
Got some golf stuff out.
Yeah.
Got some NHL stuff out.
Regular season's wrapping very soon in the NHL. What's your leadoff thought over in golf?
Golf should be interesting this week. A brand new course, brand new venue, etc. Brand new event. Mexico, they're going down to Puerto Vallarta. That's not how you say it. Puerto Vallarta. To a Greg Norman resort course. The course looks awesome this week. To get to this course Clash, you got to drive over a suspension bridge over a river. So they take you into the wilderness, and then there's this resort course there. There's water, there's bunkers. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting. The field's not that good either, so it's going to be wide open. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this one. John Rahm is there, but there's only 6 top 50 players in the world. So, it's an event where guys like the scrubby guys that I like Peter Uihlein. I'm trying to think of others, but the guys that I like to bet, Kevin Chappell, one of those guys could pop up. So I'm into it. Actually looking looking forward to seeing how this course goes. And yeah, it's going to be a fun week for DFS and stuff. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of variables. John Rahm hasn't exactly been in dominating form. Daniel Berger hasn't been playing good. Abraham Answer's banged up. I mean, we could just get a situation where, there's just none of these top guys really show up. So I'm pretty excited for golf this week. And I got a few favorites right off the bat if we want to talk about it.
Please. I mean, you know what? This always happens to me. I get logged out of my DraftKings account like all the time. I guess that's good for security purposes, but I'm going to pull up the DFS contest as well.
That's just a sign. They want you to stop betting. You're just winning too much.
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, I do have your article up here, and you can find Jeff's hard work for DraftKings, the playbook, over at dknation.draftkings.com/playbook. It's titled DraftKings DFS Fantasy Golf Cheat Sheet 2022 PGA Tour Mexico Open.
I don't think I've tweeted it out yet. But yeah, no, that is where you can find it. And appreciate you guys reading that. I am going to tweet it out right now as we're talking. And it's loading and it's out. Okay. But yeah, for odds and stuff this week, I think this is it's an interesting betting event. I mean, you could certainly make a case that guys like, Woodland, Kevin Nod plus 2,000, they're going to be in the mix, and I won't be shocked. But I mean, you've got a guy in Patrick Reed at plus 4,000. He's played okay golf. He's started to play a little bit better over his last two events, and I really do not mind that number on Patrick Reed in this field. We've seen him win in Mexico before. We've seen him come to these weaker events and compete. I think that's a pretty fair number. So that's got my eye. I like CT Pan, as you can probably tell by my article, plus 6,000. That's a player who, especially for like top 5 odds, CT Pan, he's a player who's got like 4 or 5 top 5s over the last couple of years. He'll just pop up. If CT Pan's putter pops up here, he'll definitely get in contention. His approach game has been really good. So I do not mind that plus 6,000 number on him, but like we can keep going down here because there are definitely players that I think are very live this week. Wyndham Clark, a plus 10,000 is a player I like. He's popped up he's kind of similar to CT Pan. He's a really high end putter. If he gets that club going, he can hit it a mile. It's third in driving distance, and the fairways here are quite big. So I think that's going to set up well for him. But you got Davis Riley at plus 7,000 too. So there's just so many ways you can kind of go when you're making a card. But I do like Wyndham Clark. I do like CT Pan there. And I think that at plus 4,000, like, I think you got to get a piece of Patrick Reed this week. If he shows up with any kind of form, that number is just going to look ridiculous in this field by the end of the week. So
very good. And like you said, it's a brand new course, so that makes it fun, but also, kind of a challenge to try and figure out how things might play out early on. But there's always opportunity, as you said, to find someone with longer shot odds in these weaker fields to rise and take advantage of an opportunity. Are there any besides outright winners, another angle you're taking from a sports betting perspective for the event?
Yeah, I mean, I think fading the top players is a good strategy here. I know when we've come to like events in the summer where we get weaker fields, like the Detroit Golf Club with the Rocket Mortgage, like sometimes you'll see a guy like we saw Bryson just kind of dominate that event, but I don't think any of the top players are in the form that Bryson was for that event. Like John Rahm plus 350 this week, it's just a ridiculous number. Even when Bryson won that Detroit Rocket Mortgage Classic, he was like plus 900. Like he was like triple the odds of John Rahm. So I think fading all the top players this week is perfectly fine. I think that this is an event where you could start your card. Again, I threw out Patrick Reed, but if you don't like Reed, you could start it at like plus 6,000. So my angle is there's no need to like take shorter odds on anyone. You should be looking at top 10 odds with guys like Davis Riley, who's got a really high birdie rate. You could be looking at a guy like Kevin Chappell, who I wanted to throw before too. I think he's plus 2,000, Kevin Chappell. Maybe he's not plus 2,000, but he's up there somewhere. He's up here in the stratosphere.
For top 10.
Well, I mean, yeah, for like a top 10. I mean, like he's top 20 his last 2 stroke play events. He made the cut last week. I got to find out Chappie's number here. Where are you, Chappell?
Well, we don't have top 10 up, but we have top 20 up. I'm just kind of
Did Kevin Chappell withdraw? I think he withdrew.
Must have. He's not up here.
He's not on there anymore.
Yeah.
Where'd he go? I think he withdrew. He did withdraw. No, my Chapel plan's out the window. That's okay. I like Wyndham Clark. So there's some breaking news because I think this just happened about 5 minutes ago. That happened an hour ago. Kevin Chappell out. Derek Ernst in. Nick Hardy and Kevin Chappell are out. Derek Ernst and Richard S. Johnson. I have no idea who Richard.
Do you have to rewrite your whole article now?
Oh my God, Daniel Berger's out too. I just know what the hell's
Berger.
Okay. No, I don't need to rewrite the article, but Daniel Berger out. I missed that one. Anyways, yeah, he's not in the odds. That's why John Rahm's plus 350 and not like plus 450 because Berger's out. Anyways, just goes more to my point. You can fade the top players. We can't take Chappell anymore, but guys like Wyndham Clark, a couple other dudes down here I don't mind. Peter Uihlein, big odds. Guys in that vein, man, like they're super live this week. No doubt in my mind. So lots of players to kind of target longer odds. Again, I think Patrick Reed at plus 4,000 with Berger out, even that number just even looks more ridiculous. So
yeah, Clark's at plus 350 to finish inside the top 20, which I'm sure you caught. I know you did. You bet on the Zurich Classic. You bet on every event pretty much. I mean, some really bad beats there for top 20 finishes at the end of the Zurich in New Orleans. What do you got in the NHL tonight? Or is there anything else you want to hit on the golf side of Mexico for the?
No. I mean, I think we updated the players obviously, and I mean, again, like some of these guys we're gonna have to really dive deep on. We'll definitely get more out on Wednesday, but my article's up. Definitely goes over some of these guys too. Tyler Duncan is another name I want to look at, just in terms of trending with good form. So, and then you've got like the Ortiz angle, Carlos Ortiz at plus 9,000, obviously playing in his kind of home country event. But there's some young players here, like Davis Riley, I think at plus 7,000 is a really good number. And then there's Aaron Wise. If you do want to take someone shorter in odds, I would prefer to take Aaron Wise over like a Finau. Wise played really good his last time out. His only other PGA Tour win came on a very similar style course. So that's about it for golf for now. We'll obviously do more on Wednesday on the slate with Emerson Reed. Real quick, just to, you can probably, maybe we'll tease this for Wednesday, but are you taking the same approach from a DFS standpoint? Like, I would presume you're thinking that you could get some value with guys that are priced lower, right? Well, I mean, I just think that like when you're making lineups, I mean, John Rahm, I don't know what his ownership percentage is going to be this week, but it's going to be ridiculous. So yeah, it might be like 50%. I think it's honestly, man, to fade him, right? I think you kind of have to. I mean, I get that he's like so far and above the best player in the field, but like that just creates also a huge leverage opportunity. And we have seen it again in these lower scoring events where players, if the putter just gets cold for a couple rounds, like they just won't get up there. So again, I think it's a good time to do that, but yeah, we'll see. I definitely, and again, this all is about ownership projection. If John Rahm was trending towards like 25-30% ownership, obviously at that point, you got to play him. You just go double the field. But if he's going to be up in the 50% range without Daniel Berger, that'll be interesting. So we'll have to see on that. Again, try and update you Wednesday what things are looking like. Very good. All right, on to that hockey. Yeah, this is a game tonight with the Flyers and Blackhawks where, like, there's one game tonight. There's one game, and it's the Flyers and the Blackhawks, and no one would. This is what I'm saying. If we didn't have betting in fantasy, no one would care about this game because both these teams are toast. They've been toast for a while. So. But the Flyers, they cared yesterday, and they won 4-1 against Pittsburgh. They did, and I kind of like the Flyers here. I think at plus 115, they're starting a guy, Felix Sundstrom, who's actually looked really good in net in 3 starts. He's averaged like 16 DK fantasy points. And I think that's pushed the number up to plus 115 on the money line. The Blackhawks are 1-8 in their last 9 home games. Wow. They're 1 win and 8 losses in their last 9 home games. This is a bad team. The Flyers aren't good either, but like they've been playing better. They called up a guy in Bobby Brink, who was just on the NCAA winning championship team there with Denver. He's played well. And I mean, I like the Flyers on the money line here, but I also like looking at player props with Bobby Brink. You can get Brink plus 295 to score his first NHL goal tonight. You can get him plus 2,000 to score the first goal of the game. And if you want a safer prop, you could just take him to score a point. This dude's got 4.4 assists already in 7 games. So he's averaged over 0.5 points per game. And you're getting him at plus 110 to score a point. He's playing on the first unit power play. He played over 17 minutes in his last game. And he's playing the Blackhawks, man. Like I said, they stink. They allow a ton of shots on net. They have a horrible penalty kill. So this Bobby Brink character, he's going to bring home the Brinks truck for us tonight. I like the spot for his first goal, though, in all seriousness. He's getting good top 6 minutes playing alongside Joel Farabee. So it's a good spot. If you're looking for player props, you're getting good value on Brink.
Nicely done there. Bobby Brink's going to bring home the Brinks truck. Very good. He's only 20 years old. And like you said, he was a Hobie Baker nominee coming in from, he played.
He's looked good. His ice time's going up. Like I said, played 17 minutes against the Penguins. So,
okay. And how many games has he played in? Say he's played in 7 games.
7.
Okay. Very good. Yep. And he scored 2 points last game against Montreal. Oh, no, he didn't score against Pittsburgh, but he's had 2 assists against Montreal.
Yet to score a goal, but 4 assists in 7 games.
Okay. Cool. 3 games to go for the Flyers. And I would agree. As someone who has dipped their toes in the NHL betting world, they've played better for sure.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, it's not.
They're not great.
They're the Flyers, but they're. I would take them over the Blackhawks right now. The Hawks are just. It's rough.
I'm stunned with the COVID stoppages in the NHL that there's only 1 game tonight. That's crazy.
I don't know. I think they've set the reschedule like up to April 30th, and they're just going by it. Like they didn't try and stuff any more games on this day for some reason. So
cool.
I was a little shocked too. I just figured we'd be busy every night until the 30th, but no.
Real quick before we got to go. Yeah. What's your favorite bet for the NFL draft?
Oh, NFL draft. Okay. Really quickly. I think it's still, I got to check the line because I didn't check it today.
What do you need? I have it up right now. I have the sportsbook up.
No, it's Kenny Pickett over 12.5.
Pick number. I see.
I always forget draft position. That's what we want. Okay. Where are you, Kenny Pickett?
Mr. Pickett.
Did he get taken off the board?
Oh, Kenny. Another Kenny we get to talk about.
They killed Kenny. I think they killed Kenny. They take him off the board.
You like him. So what do you like for him?
I like to fade him. I like his number was at 12.5 and I liked going over that. So, because I don't think anyone's going to trade up for Kenny Pickett. Like I think the Saints are interested in Kenny Pickett, but the Saints have 2 picks. Like I think they're 16 and 18. Yeah, it looks like Kenny Pickett's off the board. So some people must have been hammering the over there. The over 12.5 as a number. That's too bad. That was a really good bet. I was just going to keep hammering that home for people. But if you got in, you got in. I did mention that, I think on Wednesday or something, last Wednesday. So I'm still about, fading Kenny Pickett if you get that number, if it comes back on. But yeah, I don't see him here. That's too bad. I also still like, sorry, go ahead.
Do you think he'll be a first round pick, right? Kenny Pickett?
Look, I think there's a lot of chance that some of these quarterbacks do fall out of the first round. Like I could see Kenny Pickett not getting picked in the first round. If the Saints and the Steelers pass, and I guess you could throw the Panthers in there too. And the Panthers have been linked to like a lot of other teams. And the Steelers seem to be very high on Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis. So I think if the Saints pass, like I think Kenny Pickett will fall out of the first round. I think there's actually a pretty solid chance of that.
The fear would be my counter to that would be 32 Lions. Maybe the Lions just to get that 5th year option of control.
Could be
if they like them. But you're right.
Here's another bet I like.
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. This is actually one you can still get too. So Desmond Ridder is plus 550 to be the second quarterback selected. I think Malik Willis most likely going first overall, like a first quarterback. Someone's going to go up and get him. Seattle, Pittsburgh. It feels like there's just too much hype around him. But Desmond Ridder to go in front of Kenny Pickett, I think that's a very real possibility too. So I don't hate that bet. There just seems to be there's just really no hype around Pickett, and like some teams have been linked to him, but I don't know. I could see these teams all just kind of bailing on him as well. So at the very least, my favorite bet for him is still over that 12.5 number, but I don't know if we're going to get it again. It might be a completely different number when it comes back on the board. Cornerback props quickly. If you can still get the over 4.5 total cornerbacks taken in the first round, I like that bet too.
Corners.
Total cornerbacks taken in the first round over 4.5. We had that at one point. I don't know if it's still there though.
It would be position totals. Yes.
Yeah.
So corners 4.5. You like the over?
Over. Yeah.
Plus
a lot of first round graded quarterback. Yeah, it's still there at plus 120. So
okay.
A lot of first round graded cornerbacks and a lot of teams in the back half of the first round that need cornerbacks. So
yeah, just quickly off the top of my head, I could see his position overs. I could see corners for sure. 7.5 O linemen. That's pretty steep. I would have liked it closer to 5, but 7.5. That's a lot.
It is a lot, but that one's tough. That's a big number.
That is a big number, but it's more of an emphasis for sure. And there's just a lot of offensive linemen that are being talked about. Potentially, I think 4 could go in the first top 10 and the top 10 picks as teams try to rebuild their rosters, right? Go get the offensive lineman, then you get the quarterback, especially this year with no quarterbacks, right? So, okay, what's the first step if you want to rebuild your team? Seattle, Atlanta, Giants, Jets, Jaguars. Get O lineman, then get the quarterback next year if it's needed. Running backs, I like an over a half running back as well. And then the receiver position was at 6.5. I like under 6.5 receivers.
Yeah, that one's close. I really don't want to fade the receiver position, but that's probably just one I'm going to lay off. Teams just tend to potentially get really like trade up for wide receivers at the end of the back half of the first round. But 6.5 is a big number. Like if it was 5.5, I would be over. But if it's 7.5, I'd be under. 6.5 just feels like the perfect number to me. So I'm just going to leave it. I actually don't mind the under on the quarterback number, under 2.5 plus 190.
Yeah.
Again, like it's not a guarantee. Like I think the Steelers like Desmond Ridder, but if Malik Willis gets taken, I don't think they're into Pickett. If they could just say, no, we're not taking a quarterback or we're just going to wait like very easily. So I don't mind the under on the 2.5 quarterbacks either. Plus
okay. We need to go. So we got a little bit of everything in this show. NBA, golf, NHL, and even a little NFL draft discussion. Slate returns tomorrow. We'll be discussing the NBA playoffs with Chirag Hira and Matt Meiselman. I'll be in there with those guys tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Thanks to Jeff, Nick Fryer joining us earlier, Andrew and Eamon behind the scenes, Brendan Glasheen. We'll see you next time, everybody. The Sweat is tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll see you then.